What's up, everybody? It's Jason, Zombie Collector Extraordinaire. Want to do a quick video here with you. Let's see what you think of my haul. Not H-A-L-L, but H-A-U-L. These are all, like I did in the last video, they're all $1 a piece. Some are a few 50-cent ones, some were make around $2. A lot of these places are really weird. They, flea markets, they'll do like $1.19, $1.79, 54 cents. 96 cents. I don't really get it. I guess it's not meant for me to get it, but I always find that somewhat odd that those are the prices they have you pay. First up is a movie that you're gonna hear. I'm gonna start having a theme. I'm sure you'll see where films are being pulled down. They might be being modified. They're putting disclaimers on them, or they're trying to contextualize these movies on streaming services. As of right now, trying to, some of them shows and movies are just disappearing. Like Golden Girls episode has disappeared. 30 Rock episodes are disappearing. They're taking them off the platform. Movies like this, when I got sealed copy of Gone with the Wind, was pulled down for a week or so they could put a disclaimer in front of the movie before you watch it saying that this is no longer an acceptable view of history when no one watching this movie is expecting this to be a documentary. We're all grown folks. Last time I checked, I'm grown. And when no kids are going to be pulled up and watch this movie. And if they did, it is not like they need to put a disclaimer on here. No one's expecting this movie to be a documentary. But movies like this, you know, they took down totally Dukes of Hazzard. You have movies like Blazing Saddles by Mel Brooks and Tropic Thunder that are already starting to be talked about being like pulled because of their offensive material. It's happening, people. Mark my words. If things continue to move the way they are moving in this highly woke world we find ourselves in right now, all kinds of movies are going to be taken out and taken off. Definitely streaming services, because that's the easiest ones to fix immediately. So I'm trying to get away from this bright light that's in my face. But they're going to do the same thing if they do re-releases of the films. They're going to make these movies disappear, or they're going to change stuff. They're going to put disclaimers in front of it and all that. I mean, you know, that, if you don't believe it, that's censorship, guys. That's a form of censorship. And so just be careful. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you guys. Like, they did that with Gone with the Wind. They took it down so they could contextualize and put a disclaimer on it. They did that with Dukes of Hazzard. It's gone. It hasn't been back for 4 years. They did that now with 30 Rock and with Golden Girls. Golden Girls, guys. I mean, seriously? I mean, you know, but that's where we're at. That's the reason why buying physical media, at least in my opinion, is a good idea to do, because it's the way it was originally presented. I know a lot of people probably don't know this, but in England, Europe, in the 80s and 90s, they had a thing called the video nasties, and if your movie was in or on the list of video nasties, it was censored, or they didn't even bring it over because they didn't want the public to see it. They didn't think the public could handle it. They think it was inappropriate. It was kind of like the advisory on like albums in America, but we still let you watch it. It's the same idea. You know, if you want to put like a little note somewhere on the disc that says, you know, this movie has views that are no longer acceptable in today's perspective. I mean, it's 2020. This movie was made in like 1940 something or whatever. I mean, of course, it's going to be different. If you want to put something like that on the wrapper or whatever, that's fine. But to completely modify or change the way the presentation is of the film, or take things out of it, like the way that George Lucas did with Greedo Shot First, opposed to Han Solo, or like Steven Spielberg changed the guns into walkie-talkies, and E.T., where you're manipulating the movie away from the original version. It's scary times, guys. It's scary times, and it ain't going to stop there. So far, WWE No Way Out has not been modified to my knowledge. You got The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Stone Cold. You got Triple H and Scott Steiner, among others. Wrestling DVDs are just like horror. There's a huge market for it. There's Scott Steiner. There's a huge market for it, guys. It's they have a huge rabid fan base. So wrestling DVDs do really well. VHS do really well on eBay more times than not. I have a 2020 WrestleMania 36 on there right now. I have a huge watch list. It's already starting to get bids. I only had it up there for just a few days. And then I did, at a Universal Soldiers like Retribution or whatever it's called, the most recent one with Dolph Lundgren and Van Damme. I mean, that's already at like $5, $6, $7, and there's like 15 people watching that. You just never know. I mean, sometimes, like I said, those like horror movies, wrestling do really well. This is sealed copy. This is the only one I bought, I think, for a couple bucks actually. So I'm gonna hold on to that. Pacific Rim, also sealed. Guillermo del Toro movie, awesome. I love this movie. It's a love letter to Japanese kaiju films. Kaiju is like monsters fighting. You have huge robots fighting monsters from the ocean, which is a pretty cool premise because most invasion movies or like alien movies, they come from space, outer space, other planets. They come to do us harm. These monsters rise from the deep, which is kind of cool. The next up is The Man from Eastland Fields. I'm sure I mispronounced that, but I got this one sealed. It looks like it's a very interesting movie. It has lots of great actors in it. You got Andy Garcia, Mick Jagger, Juliana Margulies, Olivia Williams, and James Coburn. James Coburn is a great actor, actor from the 40s and 50s and 60s. Really, really good actor. And this is probably one of his last films. So I think he passed away in like the late 90s. So you have this. It says a poetic and elegant film. Eastland Fields has a ravish and unpredictable charm. It's a seductive morality tale. So there you go. So that is what it is. Another sealed copy is the special edition of the Tailor of Panama. So you got Captain Barbosa along with James Bond in this movie. So let's see. I don't know anything about it, but another sealed copy of this. It looks like it has lots of promise. Jimmy Lee Curtis is in this. It's Brendan Gleeson. So there's a couple other names that I recognize. So we'll see. But this movie, again, for $1. This is a 90s staple me growing up with honors. So I believe Madonna does the song for this movie, does the theme song, which I absolutely love this movie and that song. You have Joe Pesci playing, shockingly, a lighthearted character. He's not playing a mafia gangster, Italian gangster. He's playing like a homeless guy, basically, and who's super intelligent and teaches these young Ivy League college or graduate school students a little thing about life. And it's a very good movie. You have Brandon Fraser, who is from Indianapolis, actually, was in The Mummy, Encino Man, things like that. You have Patrick Dempsey, who was it McDreamy from back in the day. He's in it, and a couple other people. I know that Moira Kelly was pretty popular in the 90s. But again, this is a good coming of age film for the 90s. Next up is the special director's cut sealed copy of Any Given Sunday, which is a Oliver Stone flick. Oliver Stone's more known for stuff like JFK, Natural Born Killers, Platoon, I believe, stuff like that. But Any Given Sunday is actually a really good movie. I mean, this is an all-star cast. You have Al Pacino, Dennis Quaid, Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz, James Woods, and LL Cool J. And again, it's a director's cut, which I don't know if I've ever seen the director's cut. I don't know if that's the only edition that's out. But this is a snap case as well, which is like what they usually used to come out back in the olden days. But if you all remember this movie, I think it was a very interesting movie. It's definitely a different take. And that's probably the only kind of football I'm ever going to watch anymore is a movie based on football because I have no interest in watching real football. Next up, I made a mistake. I thought this was the widescreen edition. It's the full screen edition of Eastern Promises. This is a David Cronenberg flick. David Cronenberg did movies like Rabid, The Fly, History of Violence. This is the second movie he teamed up with Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings movies. But he plays a Russian gangster who decides to befriend or protect Naomi Watts' character. I don't want to give it too much away. but it's by far the top-rated Turkish bathhouse nude male fight scene ever filmed that David Cronenberg's ever filmed or anybody's ever filmed on cinema. So if you're into Russians getting naked and fighting in Turkish bathhouses and being a brutal fight, then this movie is for you. So if that's your cup of tea, consider it poured. Next up is the Kansas City Royals. I don't know much about it. I don't like the Kansas City Royals, but for $1, I'll pick it up. Oh, this one also had the insert, by the way, the Eastern Promises. But this is actually a library edition from the local library. But like I said, this is apparently about the World Series champs, and I believe 2015. So there's that. And again, since I could care less about this back then, and probably even more so today, I'll probably just pop it in, watch it one time, and then sell it. Next up is another 90s gem, The Rules of Attraction. These are a bunch of huge 90s megastars. Now most of the names probably don't even ring a bell for most people. I mean, the only two names that probably still kind of ring a bell would be Kate Bosworth and Jessica Biel. But you also had N. Smolderhalder. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure it's not. I'm kind of being stupid about that. But I believe he was in like the Vampire Diaries. You have Kit Purdue, Shannon Sossaman, who was super popular in the 90s, and James Vanderbeek, from who was also real popular in the 90s. He was from Dawson's Creek and I believe Varsity Blues. But again, it's like a sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of, coming of age film again. I believe they're supposed to be like young adults, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it takes place in high school. I could be wrong. I think it's more like college age shenanigans going on. But anyways, I have not seen this movie. Or if I did it like one time back in 98 when it came out, 99, whenever it might have came out. So there it is. Next up is Saving Private Ryan. Not too much need to be said about this. It's pretty straightforward. Everybody knows Saving Private Ryan. Steven Spielberg directed a movie here with the king of cinema, Tom Hanks. It's an all-star cast. You have all kinds of people. You got Matt Damon, Tom Sizemore. Who else is in here? Edward Burns. I mean, it's like everybody and anybody was in this. John Williams scored it. Again, this one comes with the booklet. But this version, there's all kinds of versions. There's Blu-rays of this. There's double disc editions, special editions, box sets. It's tons of stuff out there for him. That. And lastly, one of my favorite comedies of the recent time I would say in the last 15 years. This came out in 2001. So there you go. That was almost 20 years ago. Essentially 20 years ago, this movie came out. Man, this movie is hilarious. You have absolutely fantastic acting in this. Some of the biggest superstars ever. Comedy, especially during this time. You have Rowan Atkinson, who is Mr. Bean. John Cleese, which is the Mighty Python troupe. Whoopi Goldberg, before Whoopi Goldberg lost her mind. Cuba Gooding Jr., before he ended up being inappropriate, apparently. Seth Green. John Lovitz. Breckin Meyer and Amy Smart. This movie is great, guys. It's hilarious. It's like a remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, I believe. Basically, you have like high rollers in Las Vegas who bet on which of these comedians, I mean, they're not called comedians in there, but just actors, characters, will make it to like the $1 million first. It's like a game to these people, and whoever wins, they get money too, and as well as the person who gets the money. So there's a lot of people being sabotaged. They come up against a lot of roadblocks. The most hilarious scene is the John Lovitz, Kathy Najimy, when they go to Old World War II Veterans Memorial Weekend. It's a hilarious scene. But anyways, Rat Race. If you have not seen this movie, you got to check it out. It is hilarious. So guys, these are the movies I have. Let me know what you think. If you've seen some of these movies, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you haven't seen any of them, if I've piqued your interest at all. Some of them I didn't even knew they existed. Again, like I said in my last video, if there's certain movies you think I should be watching or looking for, please tell me. I'm always up for finding new cool stuff. Obviously, I don't know everything by any stretch, So anytime anybody has any information that can share with me about something I should be watching, something I should be looking out for, something I should keep an eye on, let me know. I would love to have that knowledge. So until next time, peace.